Hi, welcome to the YouTube channel for the Renaissance English History Podcast. Today, we are talking about rethinking Katherine Howard, much maligned Katherine Howard, Henry's fifth wife. And I just have to say right off the bat, I need to get this out of the way because it's like a purple elephant in the room. I have crazy 80s hair. I just took my hair out of a bun that it had been in since like for the past 48 hours, and I'd gone swimming and it's still kind of wet and I'd slept on it. And it's like super crazy. And I'm just like looking at myself in the recording and it's just really weirding me out. So I just need to say if I'm like doing this a lot during this video, that's what's happening. I'm aware of my 80s hair. All right. If you are new here, very special warm welcome to you. I don't always talk about my 80s hair. I do talk about Tudor England. I have been podcasting on Tudor England since 2009. My name is Heather. This is the place where I put all of the episodes from all of my podcasts, as well as loads of extra content like this video right here. Quick reminder, Tudorcon is coming up in under 3 weeks, like 2.5 weeks. Tudorcon, it's coming. It's amazing. And if you want to get your streaming tickets so you don't miss out and have total FOMO on 3 days of Tudor immersion, you can join from anywhere in the world. Englandcast.com/TudorCon online will get you all of the details. Englandcast.com/TudorCon online. I'm so excited, you guys. I'm so, so excited. It's going to be so much fun. We've got such great speakers, Tracy Borman, Carol Ann Lloyd. We've got a cook along. I just got my email this morning, the cook along video from Brigitte Webster. Super excited about that. Michael Ratty is making The King's Legacy available for us to watch for one night only, just for the streaming tickets. It's a musical. Super excited about that. So englandcast.com/TudorCon online. I was thinking that a lot of you might have questions about Tudorcon and what it is and how the streaming ticket works and everything like that. And I don't want to go into like a huge amount of depth here. I did do a video on it, which is like on the landing page of Tudorcon, of the online ticket page, a couple weeks ago, a month ago, maybe more. I've lost track of time. So anyway, I was thinking about maybe doing like a YouTube live so you could come on and ask me questions live so I don't have to like get into it here in these videos. If you would like that, if you have questions that you'd like to have answered, or you would enjoy talking to me during a live about Tudorcon, just let me know in the comments. And if there's comments and people would get value out of that, I will get it scheduled. All right. So you guys, I'm talking about Katherine Howard today because I got to tell you, I try really hard to stay off of Twitter. Um, Twitter was a crap show. I'm not even going to blame the new owner of Twitter. Twitter's been like a terrible place on the internet, like for years. Like just Twitter's horrible. Twitter's just a terrible, nothing good happens on Twitter. I mean, every once in a while, I like looking at like, yesterday with the hurricane in Southern California, I liked like kind of looking up pictures and seeing what was going on. And, every once in a while, there's something. I don't want to say nothing good comes of Twitter, but I think Twitter's a net negative for society. But I did happen to see things kind of exploding in the Tudor social media world last week because there is an author. I'm not going to say their name because I don't want to get involved in like anything weird, but there's an author who has a book coming out. This book is quite controversial because the book claims to have found the sword that beheaded Anne Boleyn. And people are up in arms because they haven't done any kind of testing on the sword. They haven't been able to establish its provenance. When asked about why they haven't established provenance, the answer is simply, well, the family that told me is super wealthy, so they have no reason to lie. And the author of the book, then, when you go through their Twitter page, because I caught the bait, I got hooked. You didn't get hooked. I got hooked when I saw a friend of mine, Adrienne Dillard, who's speaking at Tudorcon. Actually, she posted a negative review on Goodreads about the book. And so I read that and I just, you go down the rabbit hole. Got hooked. Hate that. I hate that feeling. And then you're like, it's been half an hour and you're just like, you've been in this daze and you're like, oh my gosh, what happened to the last half an hour? Like, that's like a half an hour of my life I'm never going to get back. So I was looking at somebody's Twitter feed, which like means nothing to me. Honestly, stay off Twitter. Okay. Public service announcement, just stay off Twitter. So this particular person makes a lot of misogynistic comments about women. And, like stuff that's like, why you even gotta go there? Why do you even gotta go there? Like, what are you thinking? And I guess they enjoy the attention that happens with there's people like that are just trolls and like they just like the attention, and maybe that's what this person is. Maybe. It had me looking at their feed for 20 minutes, so it won. The trolls won. But 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 what I will say is the thing that had me want to make a video is they posted this tweet about Katherine Howard and had how she had the IQ of a Little Mix groupie. Little Mix, if you don't know, is a girl band that started on Britain's version of the X Factor. And this tweet had all of these likes and all these people saying, yeah, and I mean, there were some people saying, yeah, I'm not happy with the way you talked about her there, and not loving the end of this tweet and all of that. But I was, I was really surprised, especially I because I don't spend a lot of time on social media, because I don't interact with a lot especially Tudor social media. I don't realize how many people still assume things about Katherine Howard. And like I kind of have thought, like Gareth Russell wrote his book years ago, Young, Damned and Fair. I mean, it's been several years. And, I kind of just assume that people have realized that you can't just have this black and white view of people, like anybody. People are good, people are bad. You can be one person and be both really dumb and really smart at the same time. I do some really stupid things, you guys, and I'm also pretty smart. And yet I do really dumb things every once in a while. Like I look at that and I say, boy, Heather, that was dumb. So people are nuanced. There's a crazy idea that you don't get on Twitter. There's nuance in the world. And so I kind of forget, because I'm in my own little world, I kind of forget that people just don't have very nuanced opinions about Katherine Howard. She seems to be the one that it's still like okay to say horrible things about. And I'm not cool with that. I'm not cool with that on her behalf. I'm certainly not a Katherine Howard expert. I would never claim to be. Gareth Russell is. You should read his book. Claire Ridgway is. Like, we did that video for Tudorcon, or before it was called Tudorcon, the Tudor Summit back in 2017, 2018, where she talked about the fall of Katherine Howard. And so that's up there. I'll link to that somewhere. I'm not sure which side it should somewhere. Um, but Katherine Howard, she's nuanced. So we're going to talk about her today, whether she really had the IQ of a Little Mix groupie, and why you should stay off Twitter, in a short 10-minute video presenting a more nuanced, fuller version of Katherine Howard's life. So, of course, she was the fifth wife of Henry VIII. And she's often, like I said, relegated in the footnotes of history to being the foolish girl, or the one who really did commit adultery, the adulteress queen. Portrayals of her life tend to dwell on the scandalous. She was queen for a very short time, and so people tend to like focus on the scandalous part. And so you see stories of Henry VIII's six wives, and they'll spend 5 minutes on Katherine Howard, and it'll just be on Henry Mannix and Francis Derham and Thomas Culpeper and beheading, and that's it. And it's just like, this girl in many ways was a victim. This girl was, is actually kind of smart sometimes. Again, made some really stupid decisions. Not going to try to excuse that. I do it. Um, and that doesn't take away from who she was and, what she accomplished. It needs to be taken in the whole, right? So we're going to challenge some misconceptions and talk about her intelligence, her adaptability, and her resilience that she displayed amidst the treacherous waters of the Tudor court. So, of course, she was born into the powerful Howard family, but her early life was marked more by her family's ambitions than her own choices. Of course, this is for any woman, for any person, for any child. While she was of noble birth, her early years were far from luxurious. She was sent to live in the household of her step-grandmother, the Dowager Duchess of Norfolk. This was a very lax environment filled with young women and young men. Boundaries didn't really, they were squishy. And her youth made her particularly vulnerable in this home. Frances Derham's entrance into her life was a manifestation of this vulnerability. She was exposed to his advances, a relationship that was at best inappropriate given their respective positions and ages. He was older, more worldly. He exploited the environment, casting a shadow over Catherine's formative years. But he wasn't the only man from her past that would come back to haunt her. The young men and women of the Dowager Duchess's household were often left to their own devices, leading to relationships and liaisons that would be considered scandalous by the standards of the Tudor court. These experiences, rather than being indicative of her supposed recklessness, actually underscore a lack of guidance, a lack of protection for her during her very formative years. Can't blame her for this stuff that was happening when she was a child, right? Um, Noble women, even children, were treated as commodities. Their worth was tied to their purity and their ability to forge alliances through marriage. And her upbringing, lacking in any kind of proper oversight, left her ill prepared for the life that she would lead as queen. However, her experiences also gave her a unique understanding of human behavior, a trait that would serve her well, though not long enough, in the dangerous environment of Henry VIII's court. So, Henry VIII's marriage to Katherine Howard in 1540, just weeks after his annulment of the marriage from Anne of Cleves, took many by surprise. She was young, vivacious, strikingly beautiful, a stark contrast to the aging and irritable king. While the initial stages of the marriage seemed to be marked by genuine affection, he seemed to really love her. She brought him back to life. She was just his absolute jewel, all of this. But the power dynamics can't be ignored. She was queen, has placed her at the center of courtly politics. And the Howard family, which was always eager to regain their influence, viewed the marriage as an opportunity. They hoped to leverage their connection to the throne and rival the powerful Seymour family. The Seymours, of course, were related, obviously, to Edward Seymour, the king's son, the future king, the heir. And the Howards wanted to try and see if they could get back in there and get some influence of their own. Catherine was still in her teens, and she found herself navigating this web of alliances, rivalries, and conspiracies. It wasn't long before Catherine's past came to haunt her. The political adversaries of the Howard family saw an opportunity to bring them down by exposing Catherine's previous relationships. When her alleged indiscretions with Thomas Culpeper during the marriage came to light, the situation escalated rapidly. Yet, even in the midst of the crisis, Catherine showcased her adaptability. She skillfully defended herself during her interrogations. She often outmaneuvered the questioners, but given Henry's unpredictable nature and the evidence mounted against her, her fate seemed sealed. Despite her youth and the tragic end to her time as queen, Catherine was not this naive and foolish girl that history often portrays her as. Beneath the surface, she demonstrated a sharp understanding of the court politics and of human behavior. Upon becoming queen, she recognized the importance of patronage and she began to bestow favors upon her Howard relatives, ensuring that they regained their places at court. Her ability to charm and influence Henry, who was a king known for his mercurial temperament, is indicative of her emotional and social intelligence. She revitalized Henry. She made him feel young and vibrant again. And for a time, they actually appeared genuinely happy. Also, her interactions with ambassadors and foreign dignitaries reflected a woman who was well aware of her image and the diplomatic implications of her role. Her conduct during diplomatic receptions and the letters that she penned showcased her wit and her understanding, her growing understanding of international politics. There's also that time, the Christmas of 1540, when Anne of Cleves came back. She was so gracious and so generous. She gave Anne a puppy, right? And then the two women danced together, and it was kind of like this. She could have been really vindictive, or she could have been acting jealous, or it could have been weird, but it wasn't. And that's kind of a sign of her emotional intelligence, I would think. She was in many ways a product of her time, trapped in a patriarchal system that overlooked and undervalued the capabilities of women. Her intelligence and her adaptability was overshadowed by the scandal that marked the end of her life, though. And if we can look at that, we get a more nuanced view of this misunderstood queen. Her downfall began when the allegations of her prior relationships emerged, especially her relationship with Francis Derham and her music teacher, Henry Mannix. While these liaisons occurred before her marriage to the king, in the highly charged political atmosphere of the Tudor court, they became weapons against her. And then, as her detractors began to dig deeper, they uncovered her affair with Thomas Culpeper, who was very, very close to Henry, was a gentleman of the king's privy chamber. Their secret meetings, which were facilitated by Jane Boleyn, became the central point of the accusations. The tragedy is that Catherine, a young woman who had been manipulated and used by older men all of her life, found herself once again victimized by the men at court. The end was swift and brutal. Derham and Culpeper were executed. Catherine, after being stripped of her title as queen, was executed February 3rd, 1542. She was just about 19 years old at the time. Henry Mannix escaped execution because it was clear that his relationship with her had ended before she became queen. So he was lucky. The narrative that took shape after Catherine's execution was one of a promiscuous and frivolous young queen who recklessly endangered the monarchy. Historians, chroniclers, even balladeers of the time painted her as this light-headed queen, focusing obsessively on her relationships and her alleged indiscretions. Her youth was weaponized against her to describe her as naive, her charm as deceitful, and her relationships as promiscuity. Maybe somebody could have said, hey, let's not take a 17-year-old and make her queen. That would be an idea instead of blaming her, right? All right. Much of this portrayal was fueled by a combination of misogyny and also the political motivations of those who benefited from her downfall. In the subsequent centuries, as her story was retold, the nuances of her life, her vulnerabilities, her intelligence, the power plays that she was embroiled in were overshadowed by the scandal. The historical bias cemented her image as the failed fifth wife of Henry VIII, with little regard for the complexities and nuances of her life. I think it's crucial that we reassess her legacy, and I'm glad that historians are doing that. Like I said, notably Gareth Russell with his book Young, Damned, and Fair. Highly recommend you read it if you want to dig deeper into Katherine Howard. There are others out there as well. Check out the video with Claire Ridgway. Like I said, I'll link to it somewhere. She was a young woman. She was young. Like, who hasn't done dumb things with a teenager? I'm in my late 40s. I still do dumb things. And she was thrust into the highest echelons of power with very little agency over her life, doing her best to navigate this treacherous court filled with older, experienced players. And you know what? She actually did it for a while. I think she probably did better than I would have done. Despite the challenges, she showed resilience, adaptability, and intelligence. Her life serves as a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities of women in a patriarchal society, especially those in positions of power. Her story is not just one of tragedy, but also of strength. She managed to captivate a king, influence court politics, and engage in international diplomacy, all while facing immense personal and political challenges and pressures. In remembering Catherine, we should look beyond the scandalous narratives and recognize a multifaceted individual, a young queen who faced her challenges with grace and courage. By doing so, we give voice to a woman who for too long has been silenced by history's biases. So that's my Katherine Howard. Just made my desk shake. That's my Katherine Howard spiel. I just really feel bad for her. I just think she deserves better than frivolous tweets saying that she has the IQ of a little mixed groupie. And I mean, as if there's anything wrong with being a little mixed groupie. I looked up some of their songs on YouTube. They've some decent songs. Like, what does that even mean? So thanks for listening to me, Ben. I'm going to start a thing like Heather Bents about this stuff. I got to watch it though, because man, I wrote a negative book review about a book a couple of years ago. the people that came after me. Whew, phew, phew. It's a good thing I try not to pay attention to that stuff very much. I'm just doing my thing, speaking my truth. That's all I can do. So thanks for listening to my spiel on Katherine Howard and my PSA on staying off of Twitter. Um, seriously, I appreciate you watching. If you have made it to the end of this video and enjoyed it, I would appreciate your press of that like button, and I hope I earned your subscription to my channel where I put out videos like this almost every day. Usually they aren't so ranty. And look, my 80s hair has really kind of calmed down during the course of this video. It's also dried a bit. I slept on it wet. So that's fun. And so there you go. Yeah, let me know if you want me to do a live on Tudorcon or, a thing on Tudorcon. We can set that up. And yeah, I appreciate you. You are deeply loved. You are deeply appreciated. No matter what you think about Katherine Howard, we don't have to agree on it. You're still deeply loved. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Don't forget to drink your water. It's hot out there. Bye.